The red sun of planet Zithra 9 hung low in the smoky sky. Winds howled across the silver deserts, carrying the sound of dust hitting metal. A huge man walked slowly through that storm. His name was Ethan Cole, a human soldier lost and alone on a world that was not his own. His body armor was scratched, his oxygen tank half empty, and his boots sank into soft alien sand. For 3 days he had searched for shelter, for a single sign of life. But Zithra 9 was silent, too silent. Ethan's ship had crashed while escaping a war zone in deep space. The rest of his crew didn't make it. Now he was stranded on an unknown planet that wasn't even on his map. As the wind grew stronger, Ethan saw a faint light far in the distance. It was small, like a flicker of fire. He didn't know if it was real or just his mind playing tricks on him. But he moved toward it anyway. Each step was heavy, his armor clinking like old metal. "Come on, Cole," he whispered to himself. Just a few more miles. When he finally reached the light, he saw something strange. A small house built into a cliff, glowing with blue energy. It looked like a mix of alien stone and human metal, something out of two worlds. He knocked on the door. One slow, careful knock. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a soft voice spoke from inside. "Who is it?" Ethan froze. It was a woman's voice, but different. It had a smooth, echo-like tone, as if it wasn't completely human. I'm a traveler," Ethan said. "My ship crashed. I just need a place to stay for the night." The door slid open with a hiss. A figure stood in the doorway. A tall alien woman with pale silver skin that glowed faintly under the blue light. Her eyes were wide like deep oceans, and her hair flowed like liquid glass. She looked at him carefully. "You're human," she said, almost whispering. "We don't see many of your kind here." Ethan nodded, stepping closer. "I didn't mean to intrude. I just need shelter until I fix my beacon." The woman tilted her head. "It'll be a tight squeeze," she said with a small smile. "But come in." The air inside was warm, filled with a faint hum of alien machines. The house was small but filled with technology Ethan didn't recognize. Floating lights, walls that shimmered like water, and a table that changed shape when she touched it. "You can rest there," she said, pointing to a couch that adjusted itself to his size. "My name is Lyra." "Ethan," he replied. "Thank you." "Lyra?" Lyra moved silently across the room. Her steps made no sound. She poured a blue liquid into a cup and handed it to him. "Drink this. It will help your body adjust to our air." Ethan hesitated but took a sip. It was cool, almost electric, running through his veins like tiny sparks. He sighed. "I thought this planet was empty." "It was," Lyra said quietly. Until recently, her tone changed. Something in her eyes flickered. Fear, maybe. Ethan leaned forward. "What do you mean?" She looked out the window. The red light from the sun cast long shadows inside the room. "There are visitors," she whispered. "Not from your kind, and not from mine." The silence that followed was heavy. Ethan could hear the faint hum of machines outside, something moving in the wind. He felt the weight of her words. This wasn't just a quiet planet. Something or someone else was here. "Maybe I should leave," Ethan said, starting to stand. Lyra stopped him with a single look. "If you step outside now, they'll find you before sunrise." "Who?" he asked. Her voice lowered. "The ones that come when the red sun sleeps." Ethan turned toward the window. Outside, the red light was fading and shadows began to crawl across the desert floor. He felt his heart pound. "What happens when the sun goes down?" he asked. Lyra walked to the control panel and sealed the metal shutters with a hiss. "You'll see," she said softly. "If you're lucky." The lights dimmed. The hum outside grew louder, no longer wind but something else. Something alive. Ethan tightened his grip on his plasma pistol. The walls trembled slightly as if something large moved across the sand. Lyra looked at him again, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "Now, human," she said, "don't make any noise." Outside, a deep, distant roar echoed through the night. The first shadow passed across the window, tall, shifting, and not human at all. The night on Zithra 9 was darker than any night Ethan had ever seen. The red sun had vanished, leaving only a pale moon hanging low behind thick clouds. The air outside howled like a living thing. Inside the small house, the walls hummed softly as if alive. Ethan sat on the edge of the alien couch, his eyes scanning every glowing line and floating light. Lyra moved quietly, checking a control panel filled with strange symbols. What was that sound? Ethan asked, his voice low. Lyra didn't turn around. They're awake, she said. Ethan frowned. Who's they? She looked over her shoulder. The ones who hunt when the light is gone. The ones who don't like intruders. A chill ran down Ethan's spine. He checked his plasma pistol, the only weapon left from his crashed ship. It hummed weakly. The power cell was almost empty. He whispered, If they find us. Can your shields hold? Lyra gave a small, almost sad smile. Maybe, but they learned fast. A loud metallic clang echoed outside. Both froze. Something heavy moved across the sand, dragging itself closer to the house. Ethan's pulse raced. He could feel the vibration through the floor. Lyra dimmed the lights. Don't move. Don't breathe too loud, she whispered. The sound grew louder, metal scraping rock like claws on stone. Ethan peered through a small gap in the shutter. He saw movement, a dark, tall figure with glowing green eyes scanning the area. It wasn't human. Its body looked half machine, half creature. Steam hissed from its back as it sniffed the air. What are those things? Ethan whispered. They're called night reavers, Lyra said softly. They used to be miners, humans and Zitherans both. But something in the old mines changed them. The energy corrupted their minds. Ethan watched as the creature tilted its head, listening. Then another appeared behind it, crawling on all fours. 2 of them, Ethan murmured. 3, Lyra corrected, her voice trembling. There's always a third. A sudden thump hit the roof. Dust fell from above. Ethan jumped to his feet. They're on top of us, he hissed. Lyra moved fast, pressing her hand against a glowing panel. A blue barrier shimmered around the house like a transparent shell. The creature screeched, a sharp metallic scream that cut through the air. They slammed against the barrier, their claws sparking blue light. Ethan covered his ears as the sound grew unbearable. Can this barrier hold? He shouted. For now, Lyra said, her eyes glowing faintly. But only till dawn. Ethan sat down again, trying to steady his breath. How do you live here, Lyra? Why stay on a planet full of monsters? Lyra hesitated. Her fingers brushed the blue light on the wall. Because this was my home, she said quietly. Before the Reavers came, there was pain in her voice, something deep and old. Ethan wanted to ask more, but the house shook again. A crack appeared in one corner of the shield, thin but spreading. Lyra's face turned pale. No, not now. Ethan stood. Tell me what to do. I can fight. She looked at him sharply. You'll only draw them in faster. I've faced worse, Ethan said, loading the pistol. No, Lyra said, stepping closer. You've never faced them. Before Ethan could answer, the lights flickered and died. The house plunged into darkness. The only glow came from Lyra's eyes and the faint pulse of the moon outside. Ethan felt something shift behind him, a shadow. A sound of breathing, wet, slow, unnatural. He spun around, gun raised, but saw nothing. Just darkness. Then from the corner of the room came a voice. Not Lyra's, not human. You shouldn't be here. Human. Ethan's heart stopped for a second. The voice was deep, echoing, and seemed to come from every direction. He aimed the pistol toward the sound. Show yourself. Lyra reached for his arm. Don't shoot, she whispered. It can sense energy. Every spark will call more of them. Ethan swallowed hard, lowering his weapon slightly. What does it want? Lyra's expression darkened. It doesn't want. It remembers, the voice came again, closer now. You burned our world. Now you hide on ours. Ethan's blood went cold. He looked at Lyra, confused. What is it talking about? But Lyra didn't answer. She stared at the wall where faint, glowing symbols began to appear, like memories burned into metal. Images of humans, ships, explosions. Ethan realized something. You knew about Earth's war? Lyra looked at him with sad eyes. Ethan, you didn't crash by accident. Before he could ask what she meant, the barrier outside shattered with a deafening crack. A gust of cold air rushed in, and 3 green eyes shone through the broken door. Lyra grabbed his arm. Run, to the tunnels, now! The Reavers roared as they charged in, breaking through walls like beasts of steel and shadow. Ethan fired one shot, the blast lighting up the room like a star. Then everything went white. A low humming filled Ethan's ears as he opened his eyes. His head ached and his vision blurred for a moment. He wasn't in the small house anymore. The walls around him were dark and wet, carved from rock and metal. Blue lights flickered along the ceiling like fireflies trapped in glass. He pushed himself up, coughing. "Lyra?" Her voice came from the shadows. "Don't move too fast." The fall wasn't gentle. She stepped out from the dim light, her silver skin shining faintly in the darkness. Her face looked tired, but her eyes were sharp as ever. Ethan noticed she had burns on her arm, small but deep. "What happened?" he asked. "The Reavers broke through," she said. "I pulled you through the floor tunnel before the explosion." "You're lucky I did." Ethan sat up slowly, checking his gear. His pistol was gone. His communicator dead. He sighed. "Great. No ship, no weapon, and monsters on the surface." Lyra crouched beside a console on the wall and pressed a glowing stone. The wall shifted open, revealing a narrow path leading deeper underground. "This way," she said. "We can't stay near the surface tunnels. They can smell energy for miles." Ethan followed, ducking through the low metal arches. The air smelled like old iron and ozone. "What is this place?" Lyra's voice echoed softly. "These are the tunnels of the Forgotten. Before the Reavers came, our ancestors built them to escape the storms. Now only ghosts and secrets live here." Ethan's eyes scanned the glowing carvings on the walls. They looked like writing, but moving, shifting shapes that told stories of war and fire. "You said earlier I didn't crash by accident. What did you mean?" Lyra paused. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she turned to face him. "Your ship entered restricted space near Zithera. There was a warning beacon. You ignored it." Ethan frowned. "No, that's impossible. The signal was clean. We didn't see any warnings." "Because someone turned them off," she said quietly. They reached a large underground chamber. In the center was a massive machine, ancient, humming softly with blue light. It looked like a heart made of crystal and steel. Lyra touched it gently. "This is the core of Zithera. The Reavers were once the protectors of this core. But when humans mined the planet's crust for energy, the core reacted and changed them." Ethan stared at the glowing machine. "So this is our fault?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Your people came for power. They left us with monsters." The words hit Ethan hard. He remembered the orders from his command: retrieve rare plasma ore from unlisted coordinates. He thought it was just another routine mission. He clenched his fists. "I didn't know." "I know," Lyra said softly. "But now you do." Before Ethan could respond, the ground trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra looked up sharply. "They found us," she whispered. A low growl echoed through the tunnels. Then another. Ethan reached for a metal rod on the floor. "Is there another way out?" Lyra pointed to a narrow passage behind the core. "That way, but it's not safe." "Neither is staying here," Ethan said, gripping the rod like a weapon. They ran through the tunnel, their footsteps echoing in the dark. Behind them came the sound of metal scraping against stone. The Reavers were close. The tunnel opened into a strange hall filled with glowing pods. Inside each pod was a figure, some human, some alien, sleeping, floating in blue light. Ethan stopped, eyes wide.
"What is this?"
Lyra's voice was calm but heavy. "Cryocells. Survivors from before the war. My people put them here, hoping to wake them when the Reavers were gone." Ethan looked at her. "You stayed here all this time. To guard them?" She nodded. "Someone had to. I couldn't leave them behind." The growls came again, louder this time. One of the pods flickered and the blue light dimmed. Lyra ran to a control panel. "The core's energy is fading. If it dies, they all die with it." Ethan stepped forward. "Then tell me what to do." She looked at him, this tall, bulky human covered in scars and dust, and for the first time she smiled faintly. "You want to help?" she said. "Then follow me." They ran to another room filled with cables and glowing tubes. The walls pulsed with faint light. In the center was a broken conduit sparking wildly. Lyra pointed. "If we can link this to the power grid, we can keep the core alive." Ethan grabbed the cable, ignoring the burn in his hand. "Just tell me where to plug it." She worked beside him, her hands moving quickly over alien symbols. "Here, hold it steady." The tunnel behind them shook again. A metallic roar echoed closer. Ethan shouted, "Whatever you're doing, do it fast!" Lyra slammed her hand on the console. A blinding light filled the chamber. The machine came alive with a deep hum, sending waves of energy through the floor. For a moment, everything went still. Then from the far end of the hall, a Reaver appeared, twice as large as the others, its eyes burning green fire. It looked at Ethan and let out a terrible scream that shook the air. Lyra's face turned pale. That's not just a reaver, she said. That's the first one. Ethan raised his metal rod, heart pounding. Then it's time to finish what we started. The room shook as the giant reaver stepped forward, its metal claws scraping the ground. Its eyes glowed with a furious green fire that seemed to burn straight into Ethan's mind. Lyra froze beside him, whispering softly, That's not just a reaver. That's the one who started it all. The creature's body was covered in black armor fused with alien flesh. Tubes pulsed along its arms like living veins of steel. Ethan could hear its breathing, deep, mechanical, and wrong. He gripped the metal rod tighter. You mean this thing was once alive? Lyra's voice trembled. It was a human once. The first to touch the core, it was meant to control energy, not consume it. The reaver let out a roar that made the walls vibrate. Blue sparks rained down from the ceiling. Ethan stepped forward, shielding Lyra. Get back, he said. I'll handle this. Lyra shook her head. You can't fight it with that stick. I don't have much of a choice, Ethan said, his jaw tight. The reaver lunged. Ethan barely rolled aside as its claw smashed into the floor, leaving a crater. He swung the metal rod with all his strength, hitting the creature's arm. The sound rang through the tunnel like thunder, but the reaver didn't flinch. Instead, it turned its head slowly toward him. Then it spoke. Its voice was rough, layered with metal. Human, why do you return? Ethan froze. It spoke English. Lyra's eyes widened. It remembers the human tongue. The reaver moved closer, its steps slow and heavy. Your kind built me to control the core. But the core had other plans. Ethan stepped back, his heart pounding. You were part of the mining program? The creature laughed, a dark, broken laugh that echoed like shattering glass. I was the mining program. I was Captain Darius Kane. Your commander? Ethan's eyes went wide. That's impossible. Darius Kane died years ago. His ship went missing near this sector. Lyra looked between them. So this is the truth, she whispered. The core doesn't just change bodies. It traps souls. The reaver's gaze turned to Lyra. You, Zithran, still guarding the core, still believing it can be saved. It can, she said firmly. If we restore its balance. The reaver let out a snarl. Balance? It feeds on life. It took mine. It will take his next. Ethan felt a strange pulse in his chest, like the core was responding to him. A faint blue glow spread across his wrist, through the veins under his skin. What's happening to me? He gasped. Lyra grabbed his arm. The core marked you. That's why your ship crashed. It brought you here. What do you mean, brought me here? Ethan said. The core calls to energy it can use. You were chosen. The reaver slammed its claw into the ground, cracking the metal. Chosen to die like me, it roared. Ethan stumbled backward as the shockwave hit him. The glow on his skin brightened, spreading across his body. He felt heat and pressure, as if something inside him was waking up. Lyra shouted, Ethan, focus! Don't let it take control. He clenched his teeth, trying to steady his breathing. The glow pulsed in rhythm with the core's hum deep below the tunnels. For a moment he could feel everything. The tunnels, the reaver, even the faint heartbeat of the planet. The reaver lunged again, this time faster. Ethan raised his arm instinctively, and a burst of blue energy shot out, striking the creature in the chest. The impact threw the reaver across the room, slamming it into a wall of rock. Ethan stared at his hand, stunned. What did I just do? Lyra stepped closer, eyes wide. You controlled the core's energy. That's impossible, Ethan said. No, Lyra whispered. It's destiny. The reaver rose again, smoke rising from its chest. Its voice grew darker. So the core has chosen another host. Good. Let it destroy you too. Ethan's glow dimmed slightly. He could feel exhaustion creeping in. The power was draining him fast. Lyra looked around desperately. We can't win here. Follow me. There's an escape shaft behind the cryopods. Ethan hesitated. We can't just leave that thing alive. If we stay, none of us will live, she said. The reaver roared again, charging toward them. Ethan fired another energy pulse, weaker this time. It slowed the creature but didn't stop it. Lyra grabbed his arm, pulling him into the tunnel. Come on. They ran through the narrow shaft as debris fell behind them. The reaver's claws scraped the walls, tearing through metal like paper. Lyra pressed her hand on a glowing panel ahead, opening a vertical passage. Climb, she shouted. Ethan jumped, using the walls to pull himself up. Lyra followed, her silver hands glowing to light the way. The Reaver roared below, but the tunnel sealed shut with a slam. They collapsed inside a small chamber above, breathing heavily. Ethan's body still flickered with faint blue light. Lyra looked at him with both fear and awe. The core gave you its power, but it's not done with you yet. Ethan stared at the floor. Then we end this, he said. No more running. Lyra shook her head. You don't understand. The core isn't the enemy, it's trying to survive. He looked up sharply. Then what are the Reavers? Lyra's eyes darkened. They're what happens when the core chooses wrong. Silence filled the chamber except for the low hum coming from the walls. Ethan sat with his back against the cold metal, sweat running down his face. His breathing was rough and faint blue light still pulsed under his skin like tiny rivers of energy. Lyra stood across from him, staring at the wall that shimmered faintly with symbols. The silence stretched between them until Ethan finally said, You said the core's trying to survive. What does that even mean? Lyra touched one of the glowing symbols and it came alive, forming moving shapes in the air. A hologram of light and memory. The core is not a machine, she said quietly. It's alive, Ethan frowned. Alive, you mean conscious? She nodded. It feels. It remembers, and it chooses who can connect to it. That's why it marked you. Ethan stared at his hands, still faintly glowing. Why me? I'm just a soldier. A survivor. Lyra looked at him carefully. No, Ethan. You're a human who still feels guilt. The core reacts to emotion. It feeds on balance between creation and destruction. Most humans who came here only wanted to take. You wanted to live. Ethan didn't reply. He thought about his fallen crew, about his mission, about how everything went wrong. Maybe she was right. Maybe the core saw something inside him. Before he could speak, the chamber lights flickered. A voice whispered through the air. Not human, not alien, but both. Ethan Cole, you are the echo. Ethan's heart skipped. Did you hear that? Lyra nodded slowly. It's speaking to you. The walls around them began to glow brighter. The chamber shifted, becoming transparent, showing scenes of the past like memories being replayed. Ethan saw images of humans landing on Zithera, ships breaking through the red clouds, soldiers marching through glowing forests, machines drilling deep into the planet's crust. Then came explosions, screaming, fire. He saw Zitherans fleeing as human ships took the core's crystals. And then he saw a human commander standing before the core, Darius Kane, the same man who became the first Reaver. He was shouting, we can control it. It's just energy. But the core responded with a surge of light that consumed everything. The vision changed again. Ethan saw the core splitting, its light scattering into pieces. Some fragments entered humans. Others entered Zitherans. And one fragment, small glowing blue, drifted into the stars. When the light faded, Ethan was on his knees. I saw everything, he whispered. Lyra helped him stand. Now you understand. The core wasn't built, it was born. It joined both our worlds once. But your people broke it. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, his mind racing. That's why it brought me here. To fix what we destroyed? Yes, Lyra said softly. But you're not the only one it marked. Ethan looked up sharply. What do you mean? Lyra turned to a locked panel on the far side of the room. She touched it, and the wall opened to reveal a large crystal pod filled with soft blue mist. Inside it was a figure, a woman, human-like, with markings similar to Lyra's glowing veins. Ethan stepped closer, staring. Who is she? Lyra's voice lowered. The core's first human vessel. She tried to merge with it peacefully, but she failed. Her body sleeps, but her mind, her energy is part of the core now. Ethan looked at the sleeping woman. Her face looked calm, peaceful, but powerful. She's beautiful. She was, Lyra said quietly. She called herself Arya Cole. Ethan froze. Cole? Yes, Lyra said. She came here long before the war. She was the first explorer to make contact with Zithera. The core remembers her as the one who listened. Ethan's voice cracked. She was my mother. Lyra looked shocked. Then the core didn't just choose you. It called you home. The room trembled suddenly, breaking the silence. The lights flashed red. Ethan turned. The Reavers? Lyra shook her head, her face pale. No, something else. The core's energy is unstable. It's reacting to your memories. The walls around them began to crack with light. The sleeping pod glowed brighter. Ethan reached toward it instinctively. She's waking up. Lyra grabbed his arm. Ethan, no. The energy will consume you. But he didn't stop. He placed his hand on the pod. The blue light surged into him, flooding through every nerve. His vision exploded with images, his mother's face, her voice, her laughter. He heard her whisper, "Finish what I started, Ethan. Free the core." Before they destroy it completely. When the light faded, Ethan fell to his knees, shaking. His veins now glowed brighter, steady and calm. He could feel the core's heartbeat inside his chest. Lyra knelt beside him. "Ethan, what did it show you?" He looked at her, his eyes glowing faintly blue. "It showed me where the core's heart really is." Lyra's breath caught. "You mean?" "Yes," Ethan said, standing tall. "It's not in this planet. It's under it." The ground rumbled again, louder this time. From far below, a deep metallic roar rose through the tunnels. Lyra's face went pale. "The Reavers are following the core's signal." Ethan looked at her, his voice steady and filled with purpose. "Then it's time to end this, once and for all." The tunnels beneath Zithra 9 were older than memory itself. The air was thick and humming with hidden energy. Ethan and Lyra moved quickly through narrow passages glowing faintly blue, deeper and deeper into the planet's roots. The deeper they went, the warmer it became. The walls shimmered like living veins, pulsing in rhythm with Ethan's heartbeat. The core was calling him now, he could feel it in every breath. Lyra glanced back. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" Ethan nodded, his eyes glowing faintly. "I don't have a choice anymore. The core is part of me now." Lyra frowned. "That connection can kill you if you lose control." He gave a half smile. "Then I'll just have to stay alive long enough to finish this." They reached a large circular gate made of crystal and steel. Strange runes covered its surface, shifting like smoke. "This is it," Lyra said softly. "The entrance to the heart chamber." Ethan placed his hand on the door. The runes glowed brighter in response to his touch. "It's reacting to me," Lyra nodded. "Because it knows you. Your blood carries the same pattern as your mother's. She once stood here too." For a moment, Ethan hesitated. He could almost hear his mother's voice again. Soft, calm, filled with love. "Find balance, Ethan. Not power." He closed his eyes and whispered, "I'll try, Mom." The door slowly opened, revealing a vast chamber bathed in swirling blue and red light. At the center stood the core of Zithra, a massive floating crystal heart rotating slowly, its light pulsing like a living heartbeat. Streams of energy flowed around it like rivers of stars. Ethan stepped closer, awe in his eyes. "It's beautiful." Lyra's face was both amazed and afraid, and deadly. "It feels your emotions. If you let anger take over, it will burn you from within." Before Ethan could respond, the floor trembled. A deep growl echoed through the chamber. Lyra turned sharply. "No, not here." From the shadows, the first Reaver appeared. The metal plates on its body glowed with sickly green light. Its claws were longer now, sharper, humming with corrupted energy. "Welcome, Chosen One," it hissed. "You finally reached the heart." Ethan clenched his fists, the blue light in his veins flaring brighter. "You're not going to touch it." The Reaver's laugh was hollow. "I already have. I am part of it." Lyra pulled Ethan back. "He's telling the truth. His body is fused with a fragment of the core's dark energy." The Reaver tilted its head. "The core can be saved, if one soul gives itself completely. Why not you, human? Finish your mother's mistake." Ethan felt the core pulse violently, its energy reacting to the Reaver's words. He stumbled, clutching his chest. Lyra grabbed his arm. "It's trying to pull you in. Stay focused." The Reaver stepped closer, towering over them. "You can't resist forever, Ethan Cole. You were chosen to replace me." Ethan looked up, his eyes now glowing bright blue. "Then I'll take your place on my own terms." He raised his hand and a wave of blue light burst from his palm, striking the Reaver. The creature screamed as cracks appeared across its armor, light spilling out like fire. But it wasn't enough. The Reaver lunged forward, slamming Ethan into the wall. Lyra shouted, "Ethan!" She fired a beam of light from a small device on her wrist, hitting the Reaver's leg. It stumbled, roaring in pain. Ethan pushed himself up, bleeding but unbroken. "You forgot something, Kane," he said, his voice steady. "I'm not you." The Reaver charged again, but this time Ethan didn't dodge. He caught its claw mid-strike, blue lightning exploding from his hand. The chamber filled with light. Lyra shielded her eyes. "Ethan, stop. You'll overload the core." But Ethan didn't stop. He was no longer just human. The core's energy ran through him like fire and water mixed together. The Reaver screamed as the blue light burned away its armor, revealing something underneath. A human face twisted with pain and memory. For a moment, Ethan saw Captain Kane. The man, not the monster. "Please," Kane whispered. "End it." Ethan hesitated, his hand shaking. Lyra looked at him. "Ethan!" "You can't save him." He nodded slowly. "I know." He pressed his glowing hand against Kane's chest. The light grew brighter until it filled the whole chamber. The Reaver let out one last cry and then was gone, reduced to dust and sparks. The core pulsed violently as if in pain. The ground cracked. Streams of red and blue energy collided above them. Lyra shouted, "It's unstable." "The core is collapsing." Ethan turned to her. "Go, get out." "No," she yelled. "You'll die." "Someone has to stop it," Ethan said. "If it explodes, the whole planet dies." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "There has to be another way." Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe there is, but I won't find it sitting here." He stepped toward the core, the light growing brighter around him. Lyra reached out. "Ethan, please don't." He looked back at her one last time. "Tell them, humans can still change." Then he walked into the light. The core's glow surrounded him completely. The air shook. The chamber exploded in a flash of blue and white. Lyra fell to the ground, covering her face. When she looked up, the core was calm again. Soft, glowing gently as if it were breathing. Ethan was gone, or so she thought. A single spark of blue light floated down from the air, landing on her hand. It pulsed once, alive. Lyra whispered, "He's still here." For a long moment there was only silence. The kind that fills the air after a storm, heavy, still, and waiting. The core chamber no longer glowed with violent light. The colors had softened into calm shades of blue and white. The once chaotic heartbeat of Zithara now pulsed in a slow, peaceful rhythm. Lyra stood alone, her silver skin dim under the faint light. The dust had settled, but her heart hadn't. She looked around, calling softly, "Ethan." Only her echo replied. She took a slow step forward, her boots crunching against the broken crystals. The core floated quietly in the center, whole again. For the first time in centuries it looked alive but gentle. A faint voice brushed through her mind. "Lyra," her breath caught. "Ethan?" The core shimmered faintly, sending ripples of light across the walls. Within the glow she saw a faint human shape, vague but familiar. The outline of broad shoulders, calm eyes, and a soft smile. "It's me," the voice said gently. "I'm still here." Lyra stepped closer, tears filling her eyes. "You're part of it now." Ethan's voice echoed softly. "I had to merge with the core to stabilize it. It's the only way to stop the collapse." She placed her hand on the crystal surface. It felt warm, almost alive. "You saved Zithara," she whispered. "No," Ethan replied, "we did. You showed me what this planet really is. Not just a source of power, but a living world. Something worth saving." The core pulsed brighter, filling the room with light. Lyra could see flashes, memories being reborn. Green forests growing where deserts once stood. Rivers of blue energy flowing freely again. The planet was healing, but the light around Ethan's shape was fading. His voice grew softer. "The core is rebuilding. It needs all the energy it can take. That includes me." Lyra shook her head, her voice breaking. "No, there must be another way." Ethan smiled faintly. "You always say that. That's what makes you who you are." The silence between them was heavy, full of things unsaid. Finally, Lyra whispered, "I'll tell them about you, about the human who gave everything for a world that wasn't his." Ethan's voice came like a soft breeze. "No, tell them about hope. Tell them that even the ones who came to take can learn to give back." The core pulsed once more, and his figure began to dissolve into pure light. "Goodbye, Lyra." She closed her eyes, tears falling. "Goodbye, Ethan Cole." When she opened her eyes again, the chamber was quiet. The core floated in peace, shining like a calm star. The air was fresh, alive. Days later, the red sun rose over Zithara 9 for the first time in years without the storm clouds. The winds had softened. The ground shimmered with life again, small plants growing from the silver soil. Lyra stood on a cliff overlooking the new dawn. Her armor was worn, her hands scarred, but her eyes held light. Behind her, The few surviving Zitherans and some stranded humans worked together, rebuilding what was lost. She looked at the horizon and whispered, "He did it." A young Zitheran boy beside her asked, "Who?" She smiled faintly. "The one who taught me what it means to be human." The boy tilted his head. "Is he gone?" Lyra looked at the sky, where faint blue light danced between the clouds. "Not gone," she said softly. "He became part of the world," the boy smiled. "Will he ever come back?" Lyra's gaze stayed on the horizon. "In every sunrise, every storm, every spark of life he already has." The wind blew gently across the cliffs, carrying faint whispers through the air. If one listened closely, they could almost hear a familiar voice, calm, warm, human. "Find balance, Lyra." She turned toward the rebuilt settlement, walking down the slope. The people, human and Zitheran alike, were planting new crops, repairing homes, and singing songs in both languages. Lyra touched the blue crystal necklace around her neck, glowing faintly, the last spark of Ethan's energy. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat. The boy ran ahead, laughing. "Come on, the new council is meeting." Lyra smiled. "I'm coming." She walked forward, her steps steady and full of purpose. For the first time in decades, Zithera had peace. As she looked back one last time, the sun broke fully through the clouds, painting the silver sand gold. And in that light, for just a heartbeat, she thought she saw him again. Ethan Cole, standing at the edge of the world, smiling. Then the light faded, leaving only warmth behind. Years later, deep within the core, a faint voice echoed through the energy channels of Zithera. "To whoever finds this, my name is Ethan Cole. I was once human. I learned that survival means nothing without compassion. If you ever stand between power and life, choose life. It will always be worth it." The core pulsed once, sending that message through the stars. And far away, on a distant human outpost, a faint signal reached a scanner. A technician frowned, adjusting the frequency. Strange. It's a message from deep space. He pressed play. Ethan's voice filled the room. "This is the story of how a bulky human found a place to stay.